Looking to improve your life, brush up on your personal growth techniques? You are in the right place. Welcome to Life's Little Lessons with your host, author of Designing Your Own Destiny, Kevin A. Dunlap.
Good morning, everybody. This is Kevin Dunlap with Life's Little Lessons, and today I have a special guest that is actually absolutely amazing woman. Her name is Korianne Mar. She is actually a woman that she was born in the country of Vietnam and lived there through her mid-teens, but in her early 20s, she ended up moving to the United States. And at that time, she got started in the real estate business. She ended up buying a couple of properties. She actually got to the point where she was actually having her own mortgage company. And then after the fall, if I understand this correctly, she got out of the mortgage business, but she still kept investing in real estate. And now she's got multiple properties. She has a book that just came out. She's actually a co-author with Brian Tracy as a best-selling author. And her second book, which is called Property, Master the Wealth. Today we have Korianne Mar, and welcome to the show, Korianne. It's great seeing you here, or great having you here today.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And Korianne, could you tell me or tell the audience a little bit about yourself, about what is it that you do?
Yes, I currently have been a real estate investor for over 16 years.
Okay.
And the reason I get into real estate investment is because I used to work for the corporate job for 3 years. And then the company got run out of funding. So there we go. I worked so hard to put myself to college, and suddenly I lost my job. And because of that, I decided not to go back to the corporate world and open my mortgage company. But through that process, I learned so much how to running the business. But during that time, while having the mortgage company, I also invested in real estate. The reason for that is we bought a new home and turned our primary home, the old one, into a rental. And because of that, I saw the cash flow that I earned from that. And that is something that triggered me to get curious to learn more about real estate investment. And I invested about almost $8,000 into the real estate course. And that's what I learned everything about real estate investment. That's when I was able to buy one and then able to buy 5. And started from there. And now I currently, because of the investment that I was achieved financial independent in 8 years, I decided mortgage company wasn't the right way for me to have a family, because I have 2 children. In order for me to be home with them, but at the same time, I want the income that support my monthly expenses, so that I feel more confident to be home and feel secure. And real estate passive income was able to do something for me. And since 2008, I continue invested, but I do not have to having an active income job to have a quality of life.
So tell me, what was it like when you were investing in real estate and then you realized you had enough passive income coming in at that day? It's like, oh my gosh, I am now financially free. What was that like for you? About how many properties was that for you at that time?
At the time, 2008, I owned about 28 properties. And the income, that passive income that coming in was exceed my mortgage income. And I only worked between 10 to 12 hours a week. And I did actually very consistent having the plan to put in place in order to achieve that number. But I feel like it's so, wow, I could not believe that, I never know that could be happen to be, I was planning to do 10 years, but I was able to achieve in 8 years. So I was so very happy and grateful that I found a business that's supporting my dream life, the life that I supposed to come here to achieve financial independence, but also the freedom.
Okay. And I'm going to go back to the very beginning of your story. How old were you when you came to the United States, and what brought you to the United States?
Let's go back a little bit further. I was actually a refugee person. I was a refugee to get my started. So I spent about 4 years in refugee camp. And during that time, I have to wait for my turn to get interviewed so that I can get accepted to get to the U.S. So by the time I got to the U.S., I was about in my early 20s.
Okay, and where were you being held at? Just out of curiosity.
I was in a Hong Kong refugee camp, and
Hong
it's
Kong.
just like, yes, it's just a pretty, the condition is horrible when we talk about it, but I think I learned so much from it.
And and I do get that a lot of times some of those biggest challenges, some of those issues that came up with, you learn so much that you can actually use that. Now, were there any things that you learned in the refugee camp that you're using today as a life learning lesson?
Yes, actually, that is one of some of the biggest lessons that I learned from refugee camp to help me to be a very successful business owner is very persistence and patience. Because anything good that you want to create in life, it does take time. So even build the real estate business, it does take time too. It's not going to be happen overnight. So always have the plan in place, and you will facing a lot of challenges. Just like in the real estate market in 2008, I also facing a lot of challenges, but I didn't give up my dream because I know that I would get out that downturn and get myself up and keep going.
And that's a good lesson. I think that's that we did not talk about before the show, and I'm glad we're kind of going down this route. Is that building that is having that persistence, having that I have this goal, I have this dream, and even though you may say going on an interview or I would have no idea what it was like to be in that camp, but when challenges come your way and maybe even setbacks, you still persisted and still went forward, and which taught you in 2008 which was a big housing crash throughout most of the country, if not most of the world, you did not give up. You still kept going forward.
That
Like,
is correct. That is true. That is the reason why even I lost substantial amount of money during that market crash. Just because I have already planned it out along the way of this journey, I said, this is something, it's just temporary. And because of my dream of the end goal, that I said that I have to keep going no matter what. Even that I fail, but I have to learn from it and get up and keep going. And those persistence and determination that come from the refugee camp, because when something is good, like I mentioned before, it does take time.
mhm.
And you could face challenges. The bigger goal that I set for myself, every time I know I will face more challenges, and I accept that, and I have to deal with that challenges and overcome it, and to be resilient so that you can stick with the goal and the end goal, because anything worth having that take time.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And when you achieve that goal, do you just go and set yourself another goal, or do you ever, or is your goal so big that it's like a legacy that you may never achieve it, but you're still on that path going there? What is it for you?
For me, is I have achieved financial independence already and living a pretty freedom lifestyle that I work when I want to. But this stage of my life that I want to give back a lot. I would like to share my message to the world that is something real estate investment is a doable. When you have set that goal, you can achieve it. And you have to do it, learn it the right way, invest it the right way, and be persist with it. I am is one of the example, and I also have quite a few friends as my peers, also facing a lot of challenges in real estate investment as well. But at the same time, right now, most of us are doing pretty well in terms of, stay in the business, learn from the mistakes, and keep going, and always do the right things.
Okay, and that's the thing is with real estate business or even being an entrepreneur, there are going to be challenges. There are going to be mistakes that you're going to make. You can't let those be your reasons to quit. Is that's what you're saying, correct? You learn from those mistakes and you figure out a different path to get to where you wanted to go.
That's right. And always keep in mind too is in any problem as I encountered in the last 17 years, there's always a solution to solve it. There always. So there is a will, there is a way.
And I would agree with you there. I'm a big movie fan, and one of my favorite movies is The Matrix. And the second movie is called in The Matrix. There was a character known as the Keymaster, and I don't know if you ever seen that movie or not. But Neo and Morpheus and the Keymaster are locked in the hallway, and Agent Smith is coming, and the Keymaster pulls out another key because there's always another way. So regardless of your challenges, there's always another way around it. There's always another path, and I'm glad
That's right.
you're saying that.
Yeah.
And Oh, go ahead.
And when you know your vision and your clear purpose, always stick to that clear purpose that you set out for yourself. Because I think the end result is always there. It's just the challenges that you have to overcome to get there. So whenever you're facing challenges, always think, why did you started it at the first place? And always have the plan in place when you start something. And I think that is the key, that challenges in any good business, there's always challenges. When you set a bigger goal, you would face more challenges. So be prepared for that. Yeah.
And I was told one time many years ago that all a challenge is just to see how dedicated you are to getting to where you want to be.
That is correct. And I think each challenge is to me as a stepping stone to success. That's why I look at it. Because each challenge is one step. If
Hmm.
you open that step, you're going to move to the next step. Then you would face the next step challenges, and you're going to, it's a stepping for you to get to your end goal, right?
Hmm.
So if you pass one step, you're going to have next step to work on. And once you keep walking that step, and you will reach that end goal that you set for yourself at the very beginning, why you started it.
And I fully agree. To make a visual example of what we're kind of talking about, let's say that you are on a scale of 1 to 10, you're at a level 2. You're just getting started. You really don't know what's going on. And a level 5 problem comes up to you. And that problem could be, how do you set up an LLC in your state? I mean, oh my gosh, I'm getting started. How do I do this? And you look at that problem, it's like, okay, this is an overwhelming challenge. Yet when you face that challenge and you actually overcome that challenge, then when you got to that level 5, now you're at level 6 and another level 5 problem comes up. He's like, I've already done this before, this is easy. So yes, as you're growing, you'll overcome those challenges, and those challenges become like no longer a big deal. Like what you had said, you bought your first home, or you bought your first home, I guess, that you lived in. Then you were probably married or something like that. You still had a second home, so you rented out your first home, which now made you your first time real estate investor. And now it's not, okay, dealing with tenants is no longer that big of an issue before. But however, the first time you got your first tenant, you're probably like, oh my gosh, you're probably scared like crazy. Like, what if this person damages my property? What if you go through all these different scenarios, which probably never even actually came true. Now you own, I don't even know how many properties you own now. You said over 100 properties that you own at this point in time?
We own currently about 800 units, 800 doors.
800 doors.
And
Now, for those of you out there that don't really know much about real estate investing, when investors start talking about doors, that does not mean 800 houses. What that normally means is it could include houses, but it also includes multifamily properties like apartment complexes. So if she owns a 40-unit apartment complex, in the investor world, we call that they own 40 doors. There's 40 doors because that means how many front entrances into the property. Is that correct?
that is correct. Yes, that is correct. I currently own over 30 projects, and that's between single family fourplexes and also apartments.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Korianne, tell me a little bit about what is your mission? What is your goal? What is it that you are wanting to do right now?
This in stage of my life, my wish and my mission is would like to teach at least 100,000 professionals, individuals who would like to use real estate passive income as a way to achieve financial independence. And based on my experience in the last 16 years, I have built process and system already. So most of my project, the moment I know how to buy right, and I would like to share my knowledge to the world and impact other people's lives so that they can use it as a way to done with their 9 to 5 job, or as a way, as a second income on the side, and also as a way to create the financial security, because we do not know about the job market. For example, the job has happened to me. That's the reason why I just feel like job would never give me that secure, because even I know that I have 2 degrees, but that doesn't mean that the job with guarantee for me is always there, because economic can change, and and that would affect everybody, even affect the company, and that will come down to all the people that work for the company. And I am one of the example. And because of that, I just feel that there's no such security for you if you do not know how to create your own incomes. So because income actually is the way for you to create options and freedom. That's how I look at it. So if you know how to create the steady stream of passive income on your own and cover for all your monthly expense, you really don't need a job really. At that time, you have all the time freedom that you can do how you ever use your life. Because to me, living the freedom is quite critical because we all want a better quality of life. But because when I was in a corporate world, it didn't give me that quality of life that I was looking for. And so as when I had my mortgage company is the same, the income was so good. But when I was sick, there's no income coming in. So that means I have to actually trading my time to earn my income. But the real estate passive income is really different. Once you build it correctly, the right way, and steadily grow it up, it becomes something sustainable for you, because something that you can count on. If you are sick, you don't feel like working, your income coming in steadily every single month. Because it happened to me, and also my peers, that has been happening to them as well. And I would like people to know that between real estate passive income versus stock and bond, you can see real estate is more intangible. You can touch it, you can feel it. I used to lose a lot of money in the year of 2000 because I had most of my money was in the stock and bond. So when the market crashed, my account was down 80%. And I have no clues, I say, oh my God, what happened to my money? At that time, I just realized invested in something that you don't know what is the management gonna do with my money. Because in the next day, your money gonna be gone. Because we don't actually know what is going on internally with the management. What are the changes? So the next day, the stock that I hold can change the next day based on the management, or maybe the financial statement, the earning just come out quarterly and it doesn't look so good. So the stock can drop 20%. Yes, real estate also can drop when the economy downturn. But if you know how to buy it correctly, you're still holding the asset. And when you buy the income producing property with the cash flow from day one, you're in the very safe investment, because regardless what happened, your rental income can cover for the mortgage. And make sure you can only buy the real estate can sustain by itself. Do not using money. Do not buy any real estate when it have a negative cash flow. That is not the way how do you invest.
And I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people, especially back in 2005 and 2006, I know in my example, I knew a lot of people buying properties here in Las Vegas in that time frame, and they were banking completely on appreciation. They were all negative cash flow properties, but they were banking that, yes, this house is going up $25,000, $30,000 a year. So yeah, I could stomach an extra negative $500 a month. And that is completely the incorrect way of purchasing a property. What you're saying is the property has to cash flow from day one. If the market turns the property upside down, well, you're still cash flowing. You can write it out. You can, because everything goes into in a what I call an increasing sine wave. Is how. So over the course of long periods of time, property values do go up. And when people came to me back in 2008, 2009, 2010, they were saying, my property is going negative cash flow, or excuse me, it's going down in value. So I'm about to lose everything. I say, and then they will say, housing prices will never go up. And I come to them and say, so in the next 500 years, the property houses are not going to go up. Well, then they say, well, yeah, well, okay, well, what the next 20 years? Well, of course it will. Like, then what are you complaining about? You just got a temporary setback.
That's right. The way people should look at it based on historical is, I'm very conservative investor. So when I acquire a project, it has to be cash flow. And whatever the money that I put in, my cash flow has to be at least 8 to 10% cash on cash return before I acquire that project. So based on my experience, I also lost money in Las Vegas as well, because at that time, when I decided to purchase the project from the builders, they promised to pay the rent back for 3 years. But because the market crashed in that 2008, 2009, this builder could not keep their promises. So therefore, the rent income of those projects could not cover for my mortgage. So I decided to cut loss quickly and sold those projects. But I totally agree. It's so critical. You must have the project with cash flow. If you do not buy it. That
Mhm.
is when you get hurt the most.
And Korianne, there's a question I do want to ask you, because I know you mentioned before that you initially got involved with stocks and bonds when you first were investing in the United States, but now you're solely into real estate. So why would you suggest our audience members look solely into real estate versus stock and bonds?
This is an excellent question. And I think the difference between real estate investment versus stock and bonds is real estate has 5 key things that people need to understand. First of all, it's one of the, I call it the idea investment. The idea, I stand for income, and D that means for depreciation, E that means for equity, and A is appreciation, and L is leverage. Let me get into details a little bit. Real estate investment allowed to have money income, that income that you can earn now. And depreciation, when you own the property, you can take the advantage of tax deductions. So that is something that you can talk to your CPA who can explain well about that. And equity, that means when you own the property, the equity going down based on the income that you earn, you pay for the mortgage payment. For each mortgage payment, it has some equity that paying down that mortgage balance for you. So you gain equity. And appreciation is, to be a very conservative real estate investor myself, I do not count like 10% or 5%. I'm very conservative. I calculate about 3% of average based on inflation rate over every year. And when you calculate the house and appreciations, assuming that you own the house for 100,000, but actually you don't need a lot of money for 100,000 to buy the whole house. All you need is just 20% down payment, which is 20%. So if you calculate about the appreciation of 3%, so that means the appreciation count 3% of the whole total value of your investment, not based on the money that you put down payment. So therefore, if you count 3%, 100,000, that is give you $6,000. I mean $3,000 per year. So if you invest only 20,000, here you have 3,000 plus the money cash flow. So appreciation, when talking about appreciate, is the way for you to build wealth for the future.
Okay, and I'm glad you're mentioning that, because a lot of people I know in the Las Vegas market, and even in California, we're all buying on appreciation. They weren't buying on the cash flow, which is the I part of your ideal formula. One person, when I first got started in real estate, I did not talk to you about this before, was Robert Kiyosaki. And a lot of people read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I never read. I started with Cash Flow Quadrant. However, one of the things that he said is appreciation is icing on the cake. You cannot buy on appreciation. You're thankful when it occurs, but you cannot buy on appreciation. So it has to be cash flowing property, which is exactly what you're talking about.
That is correct. That is correct. And another last part that I would like to bring into is a leverage, but never do over leverage. You leverage based on the income producing, and the property has to be sustained by itself. Never over leverage when you buy investments. If you get into something over leverage and the income that you earn from the rental does not cover the mortgage, then I would not suggest people to buy that project at all. So leverage in the right way, using other people's money to build wealth, but has to be cash flow the moment you purchase that project.
Right, and when you say leverage, even if you're borrowing the 20% down, it still has the cash flow even at 100%. Even if you've got 100% of the money borrowed into the purchase of the property, it still has the cash flow even on even in that situation.
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay.
Leverage in the right way, not over leverage.
Not
And
over leverage.
like again, over leverage, that means people depend on appreciation to using the appreciation to cover for the loss that they have on the mortgage payment. That means they're thinking their property continue, going up so that they can use that. They're willing to take the loss on the current negative money cash flow because they're depending on appreciation. That means over leverage. That is the wrong way to invest.
Right, and one of the staples that I've learned in real estate is it is if you buy the property correctly, it is absolutely almost impossible to lose money on the property. Even if it goes down in value, you don't lose money on the property. Now you lose equity position on the property, yes, but you don't lose money on the property because you don't lose money until you actually sell the property. If you bought it for $200,000 and it says cash flowing $300 a month, and it goes down to 100,000, goes down in half in value, and it's still cash flowing $300 a month, you have not lost $100,000. You've lost $100,000 on your balance statement, but unless you sold that property specifically, you have lost no money on that property.
That is correct. That is correct. And that's the key is you have to buy right and cash flow from day one. There's no other way around, and do not depend on appreciation. And you are so correct about that. That is correct.
Okay, I just want to, because a lot of the people listening on this program are going to be entrepreneurs that may not know that much about real estate, and Korianne is a perfect example of somebody that can help you learn about that. She even has a book out there called Property Master the Wealth, which is something that she's very passionate about, and she wants to help educate other people in buying properties correctly. And one of the things what I love what she's doing right now, and many of you entrepreneurs out there that are listening to the show may not even consider doing real estate as part of your investment portfolio. But and one of the things I want you guys to really understand, if you're as being the investor, is if by getting your passive income coming up, and let's say you get your passive income in real estate or other kinds of investment portfolios, and you get it past your current, whatever your current expenses are, and it could be that you only bought 3 properties and they're each cash flowing $200 a month, and your monthly expenses are $600, and now you're now making $600 a month. At that point, you're financially independent. Financial independence does not mean you have to have tens of thousands of dollars coming in. It's what is your monthly expenses, what is your monthly income on a passive state, and once those two are actually, once the income exceeds that expense, then you're financially free. Now, for those of you out there that want to get some good lessons on this in a game purpose, there's a game that I'm just going to mention right now. It's called Cash Flow 101, which is about getting out of the rat race. And it doesn't matter if you're the truck driver or the janitor making his low income, or if you're the executive, making $1,000 thousands and thousands a month. It doesn't matter which one you are. Like, for an example, Korianne, and I'm going to ask you this because I don't know the answer to this. When you first moved to the United States, were you wealthy at that time?
I'm actually extremely poor.
Extremely poor. So this is a woman.
I came in here by myself in my early 20s, and from refugee camp, I had nothing except 3 pairs of clothing.
Okay, so I want you guys to understand this. This is a woman that came to another country. Now, let me ask you this: how strong was your English when you first came to the United States?
My English, I was learning, and just basically daily use only. There's no technical use at all. Just hello, how are you? Some basics conversations.
And that's what I want people to be listening to right now. This is a woman that lived in a refugee camp in Hong Kong for 4 years, coming to the United States where her English was probably very broken. 3 pairs of clothing is all that she owned on her. She got a job. And she was working for a few years, and then she got basically downsized because the company went out of business. So she was just like myself in the year 1999. I got downsized right after working on Y2K, if you guys remember what that was.
Yes, I remember.
and I was kind of like her. It's like, how am I going to have any kind of money coming in? And so she started her first business, which she grew and she grew, and then she became what I call the accidental investor. This is what it sounded like to me. And the accidental investor is somebody that say there's a man and a woman. I don't know if this is your story or not. There's a man and a woman that each own a house. Then they get married. Well, they're not living in both houses. Now they've got a house accidentally. What do you do with it? Sometimes it's an inheritance because if a parent or a brother or sister passed away. Whatever it is, all of a sudden you got this second home. What are you going to do with it? And then you decided to, hey, let me just turn it into a rental property. And this has grown over the years to become, now you're financially independent with, as you said, over 800 doors in your portfolio.
Right. That is
Interesting.
correct.
Now, and again, also I want to mention something here, and we're going to be going over some other stuff with Korianne here in a moment. This is a I want you guys to really understand what's going on here. If you can start buying a couple of pieces of property, getting to where you're financially independent, then you're not necessarily needing that job you're working in right now. And you can do kind of like what Korianne is doing right now, is starting another business where that is where your passion is. It could be her teaching people about real estate. It could be you opening up your own cleaning business. It could be you doing whatever it is, whatever your entrepreneurial passion is. This is one way that you can actually really get off the ground running, is to actually get other investments coming in so that you don't are depending on your job as you're starting to build your own business. And once you're financially independent, then you can do whatever it is that you want. And that is key to starting your own business. Would you agree, Korianne?
Yes, I totally agree too. And another thing is about investing in real estate is okay even when you have a full-time job. Because when I was building my portfolio, I actually run a pretty successful mortgage company. And real estate investment is another business I have on the side.
Mm.
How I'm running a full-time real estate business. So I actually encourage people thinking about real estate investment why they have a full-time job or other active income job. And until building the portfolio up to the level of income that support their lifestyle, then that is the time that they will decided, okay, whether they decided to continue working at their current job or current business, they have that options. But build it while you have other income until you know, okay, this is something I think is already, I'm financially free from real estate investment, then have more option for myself, whether I say, okay, I would like to continue. But for my case, because I was wanting so much time with my children, so therefore I really had the goal that say, okay, I was setting aside 10 years. I say, one, I build up my portfolio up to the level income that's supporting my family lifestyle, then I actually financially free. But create financially free, like you said earlier, some people will take tens of thousands of dollars to living a good life. But for me, it wasn't about that $10,000. I was looking for like all our monthly expenses and yearly expenses and a little bit more money on the side to have, some vacation with my family. That was my goal. So I was achieved in actually 7 years. I have almost 8 years. I have a mortgage company to run. So therefore, a lot of people can able to achieve within 5 years if they have set that goal. For you, average. Let me bring it up too. Is the average income right now in the U.S. is about 51,000. So for some people, for 51,000, that means 4,000 cash flow per year for them to live a pretty good, stable, happy life. So therefore, I was thinking if people have money of 100,000, they start to invest in couple properties somewhere that will cash flow. If they can get 10% of that 100,000, that means $1,000 per month already coming in for that money that they have set aside. And from there, they can continue to grow it from there and then start to build a portfolio up until that level that meet their income to pay for all their expenses. They become financially free. And some of my friends actually able to do that in like 4 or 5 years. For me, because I have my businesses and I have my children, so therefore I have to divide my time out between 3 businesses and my family. So I was able to do it in 8 years.
Okay, so eight years. So I mean, 4 years is not unrealistic, and you did it, and you're a lot more conservative. So you're taking a longer time, and your attention was diversified amongst so many other things. So you got it done in 8 years.
That is correct. Yeah.
So okay, so people out there, this is not unrealistic. I mean, this is, again, I'm going to re-say what something I had already said before. This is a woman that came to the United States, broken English, 3 pairs of clothing on her back, absolutely no money. And then within 8 years, she was financially free.
Yes.
So,
and I think besides financially free, I think the next level up, I think about the financial legacy too. And the reason I'm very grateful to share this message with everybody is financial independence is great when you achieve that. But because of real estate investment allowed me to do beyond that financial independence and giving it back. So I'm very blessed that in the last few years, I have been contribute back with a lot of charities just without this business, it couldn't give me to that level of giving back. So I'm very blessed. It's not just about the income. I think right now the level is beyond that.
Okay.
To giving back and to share the message with teaching other people.
And there's a lot to be said about, so she's talking about being a philanthropist. And I mean, there's so much positive that you could be putting out into the world by doing that as well. And that you're giving back by doing things like that. That's absolutely amazing. And
That's right.
on behalf of all my listeners, thank you for doing that. And so I'm going to go into a little bit more of the meat, and then we'll be wrapping this up. Now, I know you had your losses in real estate in Las Vegas during the crash. So, Korianne, could you tell me a little bit about some of the biggest challenges that you've had to face, and what did you do to overcome those?
The most challenges that I had in the past is buying real estate when I was having promised by the builder that giving me the rent back. And because the market crashed, so the builder could not able to continue his promise. So therefore, the income that I bring in on my own could not cover for the mortgage payment. That it was a huge disadvantage. So I don't just own the one project. I own like 4 projects from the same builder. But because of I have been investing for a while now, I have set aside some saving. Because of those savings was help me to pay to sell the property and pay for the negative balance that I own to the bank. So I was get out those projects quickly and didn't want to drain my energy on those projects. So that's how I get it out. So because of that, I highly recommend as a new real estate investor, even that you invest, but always have money set aside, because things does happen for when you have an investment. When you have the money that can cover it for a few months of the mortgage payment, for example, if you have vacancy, you can use that money to pay for those months that you may not, because a tenant can run into any trouble. For example, they may losing a job and they don't have money to pay for your rent. So therefore, you have to vacate that person, and you need money to get the rent, the property ready, so that you can fill up the new renter into the place. So I highly suggest people have money set on the side. And also the next things is real estate investment is not a one key person. So what I learned in the past is my failure that I didn't hire people fast enough into my team, because most of my portfolio that I own outside of my state. So therefore, I need to forming the winning team right away as soon as I decided to invest into that state, because where I live, the housing price is really high. So therefore, the income that I generate is not meeting my financial objective. I have been investing outside of state on most of my portfolios. And because of without a winning team that you put together, it's very difficult to have a really successful real estate investment business. So learn to form a winning team. The first few people that you must have is the local property managers, the really good real estate broker that helping you to buy and sell. And another thing is some contractors that you can form the team. Is dependent how big is your portfolio. But first of all, you always to have a really good key person is a property manager who manage a day-to-day operation for your investment for you.
And I'm glad you said that, because I know before we had this call a few days ago, we were talking about building your team. And the second thing that you had mentioned is also about creating systems. So
That's right.
And it doesn't matter if you're doing a real estate investment or if you're starting your own business, you have to have a team in place. And one of the things when I give a talk, and the first thing I say is, I always ask people is, who knows of any self-made millionaires? People say, well, there's Donald Trump before he was president. There was, let's say, Oprah Winfrey. There was so many of these other people. I go, that is all complete crap, because they all have a team in place. Does Donald Trump, he's a real estate mogul, but did he go and did he clean every window? Did he plant every bush? Is he doing all of his own legal representation? Absolutely not. He has a team in place. And with that being said, it doesn't matter what kind of a person you are, in whatever business you're going in, you have to have a team in place. It could be a coach. It could be a mentor, which is what Korianne is right now for people that are looking to do real estate. And it could be everybody else. And then the second thing is create a duplicatable and repeatable system.
That is correct.
So,
Because that's I think is the key is when you buy one project and you learn from that one project and make the note of whatever you learn from that project or mistake that you make, because those are the mistakes that allow you to prevent you making more mistake in the futures, right? So therefore building the system in place is extremely important, because real estate is a business. You have to operate like a business. Because of that, you need to build processes and system in place for you to be very successful. And again, I want like to suggest you is you do not have to wear all the hats. Just like you mentioned earlier, like Donald Trump, he has all the specialized knowledge people to be that he hired to be in his team. And because of that, he do extremely well, and he only focus on the thing that he's so good at.
Absolutely. And have you ever, let me ask you this, because I know this is probably going through the minds of the people listening. Have you ever had to change team members before?
Yes, I have changed team member, and the first few months is always the case. But I have learned through that process is know exactly what I'm looking for that particular specialized knowledge. So on my hiring letter to send it out to people that recruiting people on my team, I say these are the things that I'm looking for the person to contribute into my team. This other thing that I'm looking for. So I'm very specific. Who am I looking for in my team? What are the things that that person can feel for me in my team? For example, the property managers. I know that she has to be very good. Somebody that always has been there from, taking good care of the tenant for me, go after that, and then very prompt to respond to the tenant needs. Those are the things that I keep looking for. And the person are very extremely thorough, working well with all the trades people. That's another thing that I'm looking for. So those at the cleaning process of the property manager, for example, I have a list of questions to ask that person when I pick up the phone and call that person.
And that list of questions is developed over time. You may not know all of the questions at the very beginning, but
That
you
is
learn,
correct.
and you're always learning to grow. Now, Korianne, when she talks about team, she's a little bit unique because she's essentially a real estate investor, and she might be investing in Indianapolis, Philadelphia, all of these different cities, and she's developing these teams in these different cities. You, as the entrepreneur, your team could be also your employees. There is specific criteria that you want somebody that's either working for you independently, which they are with Korianne, which makes her unique, versus somebody that may be working in-house at your actual company if it's a brick and mortar type of business. It's the concepts are still the same. However, the how do you call it? The implications, or how you put it into effect, is pretty much still the same thing.
That is correct. That is correct. And you know what? You can, in as first couple project that you have, if you can manage to learn about the whole process, is good. But that doesn't mean preventing you to be successful real estate investor. I did my very first project that was in my hometown. That's how I learned about in and out about the project, that I managed my own, rental, and I learned a little bit about it. And I say, you know what? But this kind of task I would not enjoy. So therefore, it doesn't mean I have to be hand on to taking care of somebody that I can pay someone else for 10% of my profits that do all the day-to-day operations, so that I can free up my time to focus on things that's more important into the business, which is buying more good projects. The project can able to have the income to pay for all these trade people that can do the better job than I am, so that I can free up my time. And that's only allowed me to scale up my business a lot faster too. Because one person, you cannot go far. You can go fast, but you cannot go further, right? So I think is something that is the mindset of, I think a lot of people scare into real estate investment because they think that they have to do everything, but you don't. You can hire all the specialized knowledge to be on your team and build that system that you feel comfortable, and you can scale up as big as you wish.
Right. And I mean, as you were just saying, if you're just starting out with a business or with real estate, yes, you're going to probably do a little bit of the maintenance yourself, or you may be, having your uncle or your brother or whatever to do some stuff. However, once you start getting to the point where you can scale, as you were just saying, then yes, then you delegate that property manager, that managing of the tenant, you're not taking their phone calls anymore. The property manager is taking their phone calls, but you've actually got your feet wet a little bit, your hands dirty a little bit. You understand the process of what they're going through. Even if you're starting your own business, you may be doing everything. You may be wearing all the hats in the business. However, at some point in time, you start delegating. You're hiring contractors or independent contractors or actually employees to relieve yourself, because that's how you build your business. Because there's a saying out there is, would you rather be working on your business or in your business? And a lot of people get started off by starting working in their business rather than on. When you start working on your business, that's when it becomes passive. That's when your scaling occurs, and that's when you can actually do a lot more. And then once you get to that point of being financially independent, then the sky's the limit. Do you keep growing your business? Do you invest more in real estate? You get started in real estate. Or as Korianne is doing, is start doing things on the philanthropic nature, where you go out there and give your time or your money to other people. I mean, a perfect example of this is, I'm just going to, I always like to give examples in the extreme case, because people may not be able to relate all the time. But let's just look at a person that started a business that now he's completely not even working in it anymore. It's Bill Gates. I mean, he started off working in his garage, developing a computer software system, but now he's grown the business so much, he has everybody else working for him. He's not the think tank person anymore. He's out doing good for the world.
That's right. So I think it has an option, so many options to go real estate, and I think Bill Gates is one example. So my suggestion, whether it's a real estate investment or any new small business owner, once you have the consistent profit of your business that generated, I highly recommend people to start to build a team as soon as possible. That is the best way for you to grow your business and scale it up. And always remember, you don't have to wear all the hats.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So as we're going to be wrapping up here, Korianne, and you're probably just going to be repeating what I would in this phase of the interview that you've already mentioned, but let me go ahead and ask it to you anyway. What is one tidbit of information that you would give any new entrepreneur or somebody that's trying to scale their business? And I know building the team was what we just talked about. Is there any other tidbits of information that you would like to give somebody?
I think starting any business, I know, is one thing that trigger to start a business, and always have to know your why you do what you do, and why is it that important to you. So to be honest with you, that I built the mortgage business is why I did it. The reason for that, I didn't want anybody control my financial future. If I continue working for corporate, I know I may get into some layoff again. And plus, there's no such financial security when you work for someone else. And that is the reason why I really focused to get my mortgage business to the next level, because I know that I would never want to go back to corporate, because I know why I started it.
And I was downsized in 1999 as well. And since then, I've not had a full-time job either. So it's sometimes, yes, but I will agree with you. It's that why is the most important aspect. And I even talked about it I'm sure you've heard of SMART goals, Korianne.
Yes,
now,
I heard.
in my book, Designing Your Own Destiny, and in my talks, I say there's actually a sixth component that will dwarf the SMART goal. There's also a Y component, that the sixth component is the letter Y, which stands for, as you just mentioned, is your reason why. You could have all the SMART goal that you want, but if you don't have a strong enough why, then the first obstacle will knock you down.
That is correct. That is correct. Yes, and then I mentioned earlier before our talk too, is because once you know the why and you have a pretty clear goal, usually it doesn't matter how challenges that you encounter, because you know that why you started it and why you need to meet to the end goal. That is allow you to find a solution to all your challenges to get to your end goal. And that's how I started, not just about mortgage company. I know the why when I started it. And for my real estate investment, I know the why I wanted it. The reason is I want the freedom, because mortgages business give me the really good stable income, but it never give me the freedom. Why? The reason for why is I cannot leave it for so many months with my family to go somewhere that I enjoy, because the moment I gone, my income is all gone. But I know the very clear reason why I built up the real estate investment is because it's regardless of whether I'm there or not. the income coming in consistently every month for me, so that I can freeze up my time to do the thing that matter most for me, that which is my family, contribution to the world, and do the thing that matter the most is with it, my health, and build my family relationship. Because that is the key thing. Once you get that freedom, you can design your life just the way that you want it to be. Again, so many people can work on a job. We tend to forget what's more important in our life. And that is the key is, I know my wife very well, but the real estate in business is the way that to show people what other can achieve. Because to me, it has given a wonderful life in terms of not about the income. I think income is give us the freedom, but I think the key is the freedom. You have the choice of to do whatever you want with your time. You can choose it to do the thing that you love, but you never have time to do, right? Because I remember time is the most important asset that we have. And if you can control that time, you can be free. Wouldn't you agree with me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So everybody, I would just want to say that, Korianne, thank you for being on our show today. And she also has that book called Property Master of Wealth, or Master the Wealth, excuse me. If somebody is looking to get a hold of you, to contact you, to either find out about, because you say you may have some online programs coming up soon, you may have some future workshops and things like that. How do you want people to get a hold of you? What's the best way for them to do that?
Yes, the best way for them to get hold of me is through my website.
Okay.
Korianne.com.
Okay, everybody, that's Korianne.com, spelled KORIANNE.com. It will be in the description below this video or below this audio. And again, that's Korianne, KORIANNE.com. And can they also get your book from your website, through your website?
Yes. They can get a book from there as well. And also a lot of information that I say about my knowledges. I write a lot of posts on there as well, so they can learn about what is real estate passive income is about. And that's a great starting point to learn about it.
Cool, everybody. Well, I know we've had a 17-year entrepreneur on our show today, so I'm so glad that you were here. And even if you're starting a business or whatever kind of business that you're starting, having a passive income is also very critical. You may start your own, say, marketing company, and you're looking to do that, but it's the exact same thing what Korianne was talking about with her mortgage company. She's still trading time for money. That is not a passive income state unless she builds that mortgage business where she's the head broker and she does no mortgages, but she has a team of people doing it for her. She is still trading time for money. So her information is all about creating a passive income stream where she could go and take the next 2 years off and travel the world if she wanted to, and she still has all that income coming in. So I so appreciate that you are sharing that very important aspect of knowledge with the audience today, and thank you.
And I would like to end up with one quote from Warren Buffett, and one quote that always resonate with me in the last, 20 years since I get to the US. And I read one of his books, and on that quote it's mentioned that if you don't find a way to get your money while you sleep, you will work for the rest of your life for it. And that was the quote that I always remember how I started my business. Yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful quote. And the quote that I always love to say as well, this is a Zig Ziglar quote, and it says, if you can dream it, you can achieve it.
That is correct. Thank you.
But thank you, Korianne, and everybody, thank you for listening to today's show.
And thank you. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Life's Little Lessons with your host, author of Designing Your Own Destiny, Kevin A. Dunlap. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit kevinadunlap.com, facebook.com/kevinadunlap.author, and on Twitter @Kevin A. Dunlap. We'll catch you on the next episode of Life's Little Lessons.